Hey, it's so good to be with you. My name's Andy Mort. I'm a sound artist and a songwriter and a slow coach, as I like to describe myself, and I'm based in the UK. I've been exploring and working alongside people around sensory processing sensitivity for about a decade now. I became a qualified life coach after receiving many requests from people asking, can we work together to sort of look at sensitivity, develop creative processes and practices around it, and develop the courage and the energy and the confidence to kind of share their sound, find their voice, and express that within the world in more sustainable and non-overwhelming ways. So in this session, I want to kind of take that idea and take it down the route of rewriting our stories. So exploring this idea of rewriting our story through the lens of high sensitivity, through that temperament trait of sensory processing sensitivity. I'm really grateful to Jen and to Josh for inviting me to be part of this. I always love exploring this topic. So I'm going to share a little bit of background, kind of talk through why I think reframing, rewriting our stories and our experiences and our memories through this lens of sensitivity, especially if we've not done it before, is such an important thing to do. And then I'm going to share a soundscape that I've created that I will kind of put this reframing practice over the top of. I love to use music with these kinds of things because I think it can really shift our state of being, shift our energy, shift our kind of openness and readiness to change and to explore and to go on little adventures within our own beings. So yes, I will share that at the end. Starting with the thing that kind of inspired this idea was Elaine Aron talking about what she describes as the 5 necessities for highly sensitive people. She, I think, really encourages all people who identify with the trait of sensory processing sensitivity to be mindful of 5 core foundational principles. She says, firstly, understand, accept, and believe that this trait is real, essentially. And then reframe your childhood in light of the trait, which is what we're going to kind of be doing, along with the 3rd necessity, which is heal past wounds. She says, since highly sensitive people are differentially susceptible, in other words, affected more by both good and bad environments in childhood or now, this is a big thing that you need to kind of be mindful of. She says, don't try to live like the other 80%. Again, this reframing, this rewriting process and practice is about kind of stepping into our own rhythms, our own way of experiencing and encountering and holding the world, so that we don't have to feel that pressure to live like everybody else. And then the 5th necessity is to be with a group of other highly sensitive people at least once to see how different we are, and try to have some highly sensitive friends if you have time in your life. So I think that's some really helpful guidelines. And as I say, that's kind of it's given rise to this practice that I'm describing in this session. So as we started, I really want to emphasize I'm not a therapist and I don't give advice. So as I said earlier, I'm a coach. I specialize in using creativity and inviting ways to slow down, to pause, to connect with all of who we are, so that we can make peace within ourselves at the level of being, to kind of just stop the doingness. Coaching is about looking forwards. It's about focusing on what is possible in the future. So really my aim with the reframing is self-awareness, self-understanding, so that we can integrate as we design and create lives that energize and sustain and support us and our goals, whatever they look like for each of us as an individual. So the practice that I'm talking about here was a big part of when I first heard about the the trait of high sensitivity, and eventually took notice of it. It took me a while, but I ended up kind of just going through the self-test, the kind of things on Elaine Aron's self-test, and all the ones that I felt like, yeah, that really resonates. That's something that I recognize myself in. I kind of used that as a way to kind of think back to times where something related to that particular point on the test showed up for me, and then ended up compiling all of my sort of initial rewritings, my reframings, into a book that I then gave away on my website called The Gentle Rebel, Live with Passion, Purpose and Patience in a World That Overwhelms You, which I took down quite a long time ago, but I've dusted it off. I was intrigued. I thought, yeah, it's going to be interesting to go back to that as I prepared for this session. And yeah, I'm going to make that available it's a PDF for anyone watching this who wants to read it. It will be available to download. So it just kind of gives you an example of what it is that I'm talking about, and ways, like one way that can be that we can sort of channel that reframing, that rewriting process. I kind of went down a bit of a creative writing route, and you can do it in any way that you feel comfortable with, really. I'm a massive advocate, as I say, of like embodying creative practices and processes. I think there's something great about getting out of our heads to do this as we express this stuff and engage with it, and kind of open that conversation within ourselves. So whether that's using a creative writing process, or drawing, or photography, like there's all sorts of ways that will resonate for different people as you kind of integrate this practice. And if you want any support doing that, then don't hesitate, get in touch with me, and I'd love to talk to you about what that could look like for you. So in terms of like the approach that I took to that initial reframing, that rewriting, as I went through the self-test and looked at those different characteristics of the highly sensitive person on that list, I just sort of allowed stories to emerge, really, to speak to me. And there were some where it was like, that was a time where I felt completely on my own, or like there was something wrong with me, and realizing, okay, this is how that links to that depth of processing, that information overload, that overstimulation, noticing the subtleties in the environment, being emotionally reactive to a certain stimulation, or particularly empathic within a social group or a relationship, and just allowing those stories to rise up and to speak to me, and then to kind of get that out. And one of the reasons that I love using creativity with this is because I believe that creativity is a way for us to express. It's a way for us to write something, so to speak, but it's also something that writes us. It integrates into us. It shines something back that we can then see, that is an insight. It can be a bit of now I kind of get that, and I see what's been bubbling away within me. And so expressing that through some kind of creative means can be a real mirror, a real way to bring a light, to shine a light on something that we might not be able to get to through language, through pure language, or through thought. Some of the things that I wrote about in that was like, trivial things like, why did I complain about the buzz and the headache-inducing power of fluorescent lights, and nobody else seemed to care? And they were like, stop turning the lights off. Like woolly jumpers, Guernsey jumpers are so itchy. Why did I sit in the theatre with my hands over my ears, on constant alert for things? Is the actor going near that thing I know that will make a loud noise. That will explode. There's a gun there. How on earth did I end up becoming a drummer? Why did I stand at the drum kit with one hand over my ear while playing the drums with a stick in my other hand? That happened. So yeah, that's a weird one, but all sorts. And reframing doesn't necessarily get you to a place where you understand yourself completely, but at least it recontextualizes. It gives you something, to kind of play with, to experiment with, to enjoy those stories as well, to enjoy rather than just see them as things that made you weird. I think that's what is really important about this. So yes, there are many stories, behaviors, habits, preferences that suddenly start to make sense as you view it through this sensitive lens, through this, I've got a highly sensitive nervous system. Yeah, I think reframing can help us in a number of ways. It can help us develop new and fresh perspectives on old memories, to understand context in stories that, have maybe sat there in a sea of confusion until now. They've been like, why did I respond in that way? Why did that happen? Why was I like that? And nobody else seemed to care about that. It can invite healing and forgiveness of ourselves and of others. We can sort of let go of certain feelings that we might have towards ourselves and towards other people in particular stories. It can help us learn to recognize, accept, and allow emotions that maybe we've learned to squash down and prohibit. And healing is part of allowing, all of that stuff that's in us to just rise up and to sit within us, to integrate into the wholeness of our being. It can help us create a healthy relationship with our feelings, and begin to see what deeper needs might be sitting below them, so that we can then, in the future, have that awareness, have that insight to, okay, yeah, I'm feeling that. That means that I need this, and to just be, aware of those needs, and become aware of triggers and reactions and glimmers as well. So the positive things that we can bring and notice and observe, so that we can better regulate our nervous system. The things that actually this inspires awe in me. These are the places that I go where I just feel at one with myself. I feel like, the world is beautiful. And so to kind of recognize those things and allow them to sit within us, and to do more of that into the future. And then to let go of feelings, responsibilities, and tasks that aren't ours to hold. Again, another thing that I notice, another thing that I work with a lot of people around is people pleasing, and this tendency to make decisions not based on your own feelings, not based on your own responsibilities and tasks, but to kind of do a bit of rescuing, and a bit of I'll do that because that won't upset the person too much, or I won't do that because I don't want to rock the boat. When I started writing about high sensitivity, and I built The Haven, which is the community that I founded for highly sensitive people to connect and create together, I was really taken by this question of, okay, so I know that I'm a highly sensitive person. Like, yes, I've ticked all the things on that self-test, but now what? What do I do with that information? And I was seeing some default ways of processing this new kind of information in the short run. Rabbit hole diving. You may well have done this, like basically just, oh man, this changes everything. And then learning everything there is to know about sensory processing sensitivity, reading all the books and the articles, watching videos, exploring the network of Warrens linked to temperament and personality psychology and all that kind of stuff. There might be the shame processing, so reframing the shame, recognizing ways that maybe parts of your sensitive temperament weren't honored or accepted or allowed to grow when you were growing up, and So part of this response might be just grieving for that inner child, the things that weren't given the conditions to properly thrive. And then categorizing and labeling. So assimilating this knowledge can really change the way that you see everything. So the filters, the labels, the categories that we use might suddenly change. We'll start putting people in boxes and thinking, okay, that person is a highly sensitive person, that person isn't. And yeah, this kind of helps to bring this framework into a shifting understanding of the world. And so these responses do help us to reframe the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. This is all an important part, I think, of the process. If you pick up on any of those things, they help us shift our relationship with values and beliefs that we hold about the world as well. And so this is part of a process, flushing the toxic stories through the system and opening the future for a clear, fresh stream to start flowing through our lives. But it is possible to get stuck in unhelpful spirals, especially of rumination. It might look like obsessive knowledge hoarding. So just completely, in the head, gathering information, constantly sort of theorizing around this stuff. It might be turning shame into bitterness, into resentment, into blame. So that might be something that becomes like this pent up holding on of like resentment about, I wasn't given what I needed growing up or whatever. Or it might be siloing ourselves in kind of tribal thinking, which might be homogenizing highly sensitive people as one group of people, as if there aren't. The old saying is once you've met one highly sensitive person, you've met one highly sensitive person. And so, yes, we're not one homogenous group. That the kind of flip side of that is like othering people who don't belong. And we might end up actually sort of reliving a pattern that we've felt had done to us, which is that sort of othering, feeling like you don't fit in. And so, that they are just things to really look out for, to be aware of during this process. And when you see other people, maybe you've known for ages that maybe this is sort of not new stuff for you. But as you see other people learning about their sensitive temperaments, just being mindful of that and supporting them through going through that process rather than getting stuck there. Rewriting our story through the lens of sensitivity is really a way to develop self-acceptance, reconnecting with and embracing parts of ourselves that we've maybe left behind, could be deliberately or unintentionally along the way in life. It helps us develop self-understanding, allowing what is to be in any given moment rather than beating ourselves up for feeling what we feel and needing what we need. And it's a way to embrace more self-regulation, experimenting with and adopting tools and techniques and sort of mindset shifts that are useful for us, and arranging our routines, our environments and our plans in ways that give us the best conditions to survive and to thrive. So here is a simple way to practice reframing. Take a deep breath. Slow down. Open yourself to the possibility of this moment. You're invited to listen, observe, heal. Give space to what your body, your mind, your spirit wants to say, what it wants to rewrite, what it needs to integrate. And it's time to bring that part of you home. We all carry stories about ourselves, internalized messages that taught us what we needed to do to feel safe, growing up. Some behaviours were encouraged and valued, perhaps praise for being clever, kind, pretty, strong or brave, caring, perfect. And maybe there are parts of us that were discouraged and less valued. Don't show weakness. You're too sensitive. You're shy. The black sheep. Bossy. Silly. Needy. Don't be sloppy, vain, slow, lazy. Stop crying. As we grow up, these value judgments settle in and feel like our own. They become integrated in the story we tell about ourselves, the message we remind ourselves to adhere to in order to feel safe and accepted. This is the story of comparison. As we compare our experiences with other people's, we beat ourselves up for needing and feeling things that other people don't seem to share. So in the context of other people, where do we fit? Where do we sit? If you've felt different because your sensitivity hasn't been properly understood and given space to be part of your journey of becoming, you might feel alone around others and at odds with yourself, especially before you had a name for it, a framework to begin understanding the processes, the mechanisms at play in a highly sensitive temperament. As we reframe the story of who we are in light of our sensitivity, we will begin to experience healing. Healing as an increasing wholeness in being, the parts of ourselves that have been hidden, squashed down, placed behind walls with the hope that we can get rid of them, are able to breathe and grow. These are vital parts of our inner workings and give rise to so much of what we're capable of experiencing, contributing and encountering with our lives. Reframing in this way helps us come to terms with our sensitivity so that we can make it work for us. Hold this practice gently. Don't force it. Allow yourself to remain within your comfort zone and know that the more you practice it, the more things will grow, step by step, story by story. It might feel like nothing is happening on the surface, but seeds always start in the dark, away from view. Trust that growth happens without you forcing or trying. All you need to do is show up and water the soil. Allow your mind to settle on a memory, perhaps a time when you felt like you were unable to be or express yourself in an authentic way. It might be a time when you didn't speak up or show how you felt inside. Or maybe you did speak up, but it felt like a performance, where you were playing to the audience and the real you was put in a box somewhere deep within. Observe this moment. Where are you? What's happening? Who else is there? Why are you there? Describe this situation without applying any judgments, any reasons, any analysis. look at the scene from beyond yourself and simply observe what you see. Next, go and be with yourself. Sit next to yourself, stand next to yourself. Look at who you see. Notice, what were you really feeling? What are you needing? How are you trying to get those needs met? What is crying out within you as you're unable to be or express yourself? Now give that past you a reassuring touch. Maybe an arm around the shoulder, a hug. Hold their hand or rub their back, whatever tells them it's okay to be them. I see you. I hear you. You're accepted. What got lost in that moment? Where was there a disconnection? Who did you want to be, but weren't? Allow space for responses to gently rise within. Write down anything that comes up. Don't force it. You might have words, phrases, images. Whatever it is, just let it flow. Hear the need of the past you in the present moment and see if you can meet it now. It might simply be those words. I see you. I hear you. You are accepted and acceptable as you are. It might be an action that you want to do, a place you want to take your past self to, or a request that you can make of someone else who really knows you and wants the best for you. Allow your intuition to speak. What does it want to do to connect the dots and bring healing to that moment? Spend time breathing out the old thoughts and feelings associated with that story. Release the resentment, blame and shame you might carry towards yourself and other people. Breathe in the fresh, expansive air that helps this story breathe in a new way within you, with self-acceptance, permission, and the safety to be who you are. You might need to visit the same place a number of times. That's okay. There's no rush. This is a practice, not a blueprint. And freedom to be who you are is both present, it is here right now, and it is also forever becoming. This practice is not one of striving or reaching. It's not a process to force, to rush through, so that you can reach a destination. It's more like a map of an island that we can explore, where we can plant seeds and watch them grow. We are watering, tending to, and harvesting what rises up around this island. We can recognize when it's time for each of those things, and let go of the desire to rush or force when it's not the right time. Your sensitivity isn't who you are, but it influences how you see and experience the world. It's a beautiful thing. It can add so much to your life, to the people around you and the world at large. Let it grow. Connect with it. And allow it to inspire the next chapter of your story.